Hello and welcome to another video with Print Design Academy here, where we are teaching graphic designers to be experts in print design. My name is Dave, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about the new Facebook brand. It's not Facebook, it's now Meta. It's Meta. So I want to talk to you about Meta. And a couple of days ago, this hit the news that they're rebranding to Meta and what the logo looked like and all that kind of stuff. Am I saying it right? Is it Meta or is it like Meta? Or should it be more like deep metal, like Meta? Meta, 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 Meta. Should it be something that you like say in passing? Meta, Meta, whatever it is. They rebranded that way to represent the metaverse. Hey man, what's the metaverse? You don't know? No. Okay, boomer. I'm not a boomer. Okay, millennial guy. Anyways, it got me thinking, what would that brand look like in print? What sort of print techniques, print finishing, what kind of papers, what sort of things would fit with that new brand? So I've got some foil swatch books, I've got some specialty finishing stuff, I got some paper swatch books up over here, and I wanted to just have a look at those with you on camera and give you my opinion on what I think they should do in print for their letterheads, for the business cards, for any kind of packaging or promotional materials that they put together. Now, why is that important? Why do you need to think about a printed brand with any brand out there or rebrand? Inevitably, you're going to print something. It may just be a business card and letterhead and an envelope or something like that, or direct mail and sales folders and things like that, or packaging may be a core part of the business. Now, in Meta's case, maybe they won't be doing any packaged products or anything like that, but I imagine there'll be business cards, letterheads, maybe some promotional direct mail kind of stuff, and it's important to establish what that brand would look like in print. So if you have a brand that is very environmentally conscious, and green choices are a huge part of that brand ethos, and they like recycled materials, they like repopulating the earth with trees and like tree planting, and they like all this kind of stuff, and their brand is very green and environmental focused, using a super high gloss paper, maybe plastic laminates, foil stamping and those kind of finishings, maybe those aren't going to be the best fit for that brand that really needs to represent sort of clean, basic, natural, recycled feel, post-consumer papers, that kind of thing, right? That needs to represent that. Now, on the other side of that spectrum, something like Meta, that is a tech company, essentially creating a new environment out there. So what kind of papers could they use? What would they use? What should they use? So let's dive in and have a look at some stuff. Now, if you haven't seen the logo yet, but I'm sure everybody has, I'll put it up over here and we'll leave it there sort of for most of the video here, so you can reference that for some of the things that I'm talking about here. But let's start with grabbing some swatch books. Okay. Hopefully that doesn't like fall off the shelf while I'm filming here. But I picked a few samples. I picked a few swatches here for you guys to have a look at. Now, these are very clean white papers. There isn't going to be a lot of fiber, a lot of fleck, a lot of texture. There isn't going to be a lot of that stuff. When I think of a tech brand or something like Meta and looking at the logo, it all seems very clean, almost clinical. You know what I mean? So sticking with papers that don't have a lot of distraction in texture or in fleck or spot or recycled spots in the paper seems like a good alignment to me for that brand. So let's look at some ideas here. The first one up here is Sterling, one of my favorite coated papers that I really like to use. It's manufactured by a mill called New Page, and it's a really slick coated stock. Comes in gloss, comes in dull, comes in matte. And it also has, text weights all the way up to thick cover weight papers. But let's start with the gloss. So if you have a look at the gloss here, you definitely get a lot of shine with that one, right? So, it could be a fit. It really could go. It's really just down to preference when you're into these coated stocks. A brand like Meta, I think, could go with a gloss and be totally fine with that. Like, that could fit the brand. Business cards, I imagine, would be a nice thick stock. Not as thick as like a letterpress beefy cotton paper, but a nice coated heavyweight paper would be pretty nice. So in this particular case, we got gloss papers all the way up to 130-pound gloss cover. Yeah, 130-pound gloss cover, and that's pretty thick. Like, that's got some good heft to it. You're gonna notice that when somebody hands that business card over to you. So let's take a look at the matte here, just for sort of an immediate contrast. All of them come in text weight papers for brochures and inside pages of booklets, all the way up to cover weight stocks. So let's have a look at, that'll do, a matte text, 100-pound matte text. So I'm kind of holding this up a little bit, moving it around so you can get an idea of the sheen that you're getting off the light with that. It's pretty flat, like it's a pretty flat finish on this paper. So when you print on it, that ink is gonna remain that flat. It's gonna take on those flat attributes. So that could be an option. The ink is going to lay down really smooth, really clean, and with the blue that they've selected in the little infinity kind of logo, along with the very clean, what I would describe as a clean font, that could be a great choice. So sterling, that's one option, a coated paper. So then next we can move into some uncoated papers. I like going to the Mohawk line of papers. I love Mohawk. I like what the brand is doing. I like the direction that they're going. I've had the opportunity to connect with a number of their staff as well. And it's such a great team. And even back in the day when I was running presses, because my history is finishing and running presses and doing a lot of the production work for the most of my print career, I always loved printing on Mohawk papers. And you're gonna think I'm crazy here, but if you ever print on Mohawk paper and you get the opportunity to go for a press check, just take like a little handful of Mohawk paper and smell it. It is like such a clean, pure, nice smell. There's nothing chemical about it. It's just beautiful papers. Love their papers. Anyways, getting a little off track here. So I got their Mohawk Superfine line, which is top-notch, beautiful high-end papers. And then we've got also their options and Navajo papers. Again, still premium papers, but these papers start to introduce a little bit of recycled material to them, a little bit of fleck. Not a lot of fleck or not a lot of distraction in that paper. Still a super smooth white paper, but a little bit more recycled content. These ones also have their inkswell coating, which is basically a surface treatment on the uncoated paper, which gives it, increases the printability of it. But Mohawk Superfine, you're still gonna print beautiful things on that paper. So let's start with the Superfine. So flipping open this particular swatch book, they've got smooth and they've got an eggshell finish as well. In this particular case with Meta, I would definitely go with a smooth. You want smooth, like I said, Meta comes off to me very clinical, clean white offices and environment. Like it comes off that way. So you want the paper to sort of match that brand, that personality that the logo and the vibe is giving off. So again, you got text weights all the way up to heavy cover weights. In this particular uncoated papers, and this is one of the reasons I love uncoated paper, you can get real thick. In the coated, the sterling we looked at, you went up to 130-pound cover. In the Mohawk here, in the smooth, in their ultra white, 160-pound cover. Now, I understand that you're watching a video and you have no idea what this actually feels like in your hand. And I hope one day you get the opportunity to do that. So maybe reach out to Mohawk and see if you can pick up a swatch book or two. But listen, this is my tell. That's got some snapback. So that is a super thick paper, and that would make it for a really dope business card. The other great thing about this being in an uncoated paper is a letterhead feels more natural in an uncoated paper than it does with a coated paper. So you could easily select one of these stocks to match the business card, to match the envelope, sort of have a consistent stationery package of the same paper for that stationery package, and produce some really nice stuff in envelopes, letterheads, and really thick business cards, all with one paper. So the Superfine Smooth, love, love, love. So now when you're in the smooth, Ultra white is sort of your main go-to, but there is also some whites that are less bright of a white, and then you get into the soft whites, which is more of an off-white kind of ivory kind of finish to it. And then flipping over to the eggshell, again, you've got the same sort of three colors as mentioned before, the ultra white, the white, and the soft white in that ivory. But with eggshell, you get a little bit more texture, a little bit more feel to it. It's got a little bit more tooth. It's called eggshell for a reason. You think of the eggshell that you get for your wall paint finish. It's not a super smooth, it's not a glossy finish at all. It's got a little texture. It's got a little something. You know what I'm saying? So Mohawk Superfine could be a great fit. Next is options Navajo. So you're ready to go again. These guys are, I love these. They have such a nice feel to them. To be completely honest, I think Superfine is the best fit for this particular brand, but I wanted to share this one as well because it's another great option. In the options and Navajo, you've got the smooth, you've also got a vellum finish, a little bit more texture, a little bit more something going on there. And then the Navajo smooth, which is just like soup to smooth. Okay, so looking at some of these, especially the smooth here, open up a little chart. It's got some more info on some of the colors, but you can see some of them here. We've got a crystal white, we've got a true white, and these are all just sort of adjustments in the brightness of that white. And then, like I mentioned, recycled, we get into 100% post-consumer whites. Now, in those particular papers, you get a little bit of fleck, a little bit of here and there fleck. So you can see there's one on this sample, but not like a true 100% post-consumer recycled paper. True maybe isn't the right description, but you know what I mean, that recycled papers typically have a lot of fleck, a lot of stuff going on in there, other little bits of paper to really show that it's post-consumer. These are premium post-consumer papers. So, you could go either way in this one, but in my personal preference, Meta's brand should be on Mohawk Superfine. You heard it here, folks. So moving on, we got the brand over here still so you can see that. What could you print with this? What sort of specialty finishing? Could you foil stamp it? Could you emboss it? So first, look at the fonts here. The fonts are very embossing and foil stamping friendly. There are some serif fonts that are very, come to very fine points. And when you have fonts that come to that very fine point, that is tough for a printer to foil stamp and keep consistent. It's also very tough to emboss in the sheet. That's pressing the image up and getting it through. Just for a quick reference, let me show you an emboss sample here. This is the test sheet that I happen to have. You'll probably recognize the brand logo, but it's got an emboss and a deboss on it. And you can kind of see here the emboss and the deboss and the differences between the two of them. Emboss is raised up, deboss is pressed in. Okay, that's the best way to remember it. But it could go for this brand and the font with the sort of simplistic shape of the Meta infinity symbol is what I'm going to call it. You can emboss that really clean. You can emboss that and it would work well. So an idea for the business card, Zuck, I gotcha. So embossing could be an idea there. Now getting into foil stamps, there are a bajillion foil stamp options available out there. A company called Foil Co, based out of the UK, has some of the widest variety of color selections and textures and unique foils. So check out Foil Co. However, I have a couple of their foil swatches right here, and let's just have a look. Like, could it work in foil? So I got a couple of their new foil swatch books here in front of me. We got the metallics range and the pigments range. When you look at the Meta logo, it's not really metallic. It's not, part of the brand is not shiny and metallic. Metallics are used less for logos and more for highlights within print. So I'll start by looking at the pigments range here. And this is only a few of them that they have. They have so many. But here's some colors, here's some foils. Some of them are a little bit more glossy, some of them are a little bit more flat. Some of these are pretty close to that Meta blue, or fairly similar. So yeah, you could find a blue in Meta. And I mean, it is Meta or Facebook, so I'm sure they have the money to make a custom foil if they really want to. But one thing I wanted to mention about foil, when you look at the logo, as it sort of spins through its infinity look, part of it is lighter in color, a slightly lighter blue than the rest. Some of it is a darker blue. So in print, whether that's achieved with a couple of different Pantones blending together, a CMYK blend, or maybe it's achieved with foil and then printing a black on top, like a black gradient to kind of darken up an area, a couple of things. But in foil itself, with a hot foil stamp, you wouldn't be able to create in one hit that darker and lighter colors in one hit of foil. You'd have to get creative and do something like that. So when it comes to foil, I don't think the Meta logo is foil friendly. So it's ink friendly and print friendly, no problem, but not foil friendly. So whether it's a pigment range or a metallic that you're looking for, because that logo, that shape has a couple of different shades of blue in it, that's not foil friendly. If it was all one blue color, the same blue color, all right, we can talk some foil. But in this case, it's not. So Meta logo, not foil friendly. So what have we learned here today? We have learned that whatever brand you have or you're working on, it's very important to develop the print plan for that brand. What does that brand look like in print? So in the case of this logo, Meta, this one right here, it is print friendly, Pantones and CMYK, all good there. When we move into embossing and specialty finishing, embossing, yeah, happy days. You can emboss or even deboss that, no problem. You could even get wild and do a sculpted emboss style.
Nice.
What that means is it's not just elevated to one layer, it's like concave and textured, or pits and valleys in a different emboss. Different level of emboss. It's like advanced embossing. But you could do that. You could even have that part of the logo that visually appears closer to you pressed further out of the paper than the rest of them. So that could be a cool look. Emboss friendly. Yeah. Foil friendly. Not so much. If you really wanted to, you could go a route called cold foil, where you lay down foil and you print on top of foil. You could go that route. But I don't know if it'd be a good fit. I don't think it'd be a good fit. So in terms of this logo, it is not foil friendly. Moving on to papers, in my opinion, I think this brand should go with a Mohawk Superfine in print. This beautiful, uncoated, super smooth paper, I think is the absolute winner for this. It's clean and fresh, just like this brand gives off. Clinical, I've used that word before, clinical looking brand. I think it's a huge fit. So that is my opinion on this Meta logo. It's cool, metaverse, whatever. Do your thing, Zuck. But yeah, in my opinion, that's what the printed brand should look like for this logo. Now, if you're interested in seeing more of what is possible in print, and let's narrow this down and be specific about craft beer labels. If you're interested in how those amazing beverage and craft beer labels are made, what's behind the scenes of creating them and materials that goes into them, you're gonna wanna check out this video right here. Don't miss that one.